A notable public interaction recently occurred involving senior White House trade aide Peter Navarro and technology executive Elon Musk, illustrating the complex interplay between government trade policy and large-scale industrial operations. The sequence began with Navarro publicly characterizing Tesla primarily as an assembler rather than a traditional manufacturer, citing its reliance on foreign supply chains in the context of administration objectives favoring domestic component sourcing for items like tires, transmissions, and engines. This commentary coincided with the imposition of significant tariffs on goods imported from China, a key element in Tesla's supply network. The critique elicited a direct and strongly worded reaction from Musk via the social media platform X. Musk labeled Navarro's assessment demonstrably false and employed sharp personal terms, calling the aide a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks, while referencing a study positioning several Tesla models as predominantly American-made. However, within days, Navarro appeared on national television to publicly downplay any conflict, stating his relationship with Musk was great and not an issue, even praising Musk's contributions through the Department of Government Efficiency. This apparent de-escalation was mirrored by the White House press secretary, who framed the preceding exchange as mere public sparring. Examining the operational sequence of this interaction, from the initial policy-linked critique to the pointed rebuttal and subsequent efforts at normalization, provides insight into the dynamics at play. Navarro's remarks on CNBC, specifically questioning Tesla's manufacturing identity and emphasizing the administration's desire for localized component production in places like Akron, Indianapolis, and Flint, functioned as the direct catalyst. These statements publicly juxtaposed Tesla's operational model with the administration's stated protectionist goals, particularly relevant given the substantial tariffs recently applied to Chinese imports impacting the automotive sector. The effect of this critique was immediate and pronounced. Utilizing his ownership of the social media platform X, Elon Musk launched a series of posts directly refuting Navarro's assertions. His counter involved not only sharp personal invective but also the citation of external data, a specific study, purporting to rank Tesla vehicles highly based on American manufacturing metrics, including assembly location and workforce. This vigorous defense occurred shortly after tariff announcements reportedly resulted in significant financial repercussions for Musk, suggesting his response was driven by both a defense of his company's image and tangible economic concerns. Following this public denunciation, a noticeable shift occurred in Navarro's public posture. His appearance on Meet the Press saw a deliberate move towards reconciliation, dismissing the prior exchange and affirming a positive relationship with Musk. This de-escalatory tactic included pivoting to praise Musk's separate role leading the Department of Government Efficiency, thereby reframing their interaction away from confrontation and towards shared governmental objectives. The official stance articulated by the White House press secretary further contextualized this development. By characterizing the interaction with the phrase, "boys will be boys," the administration effectively signaled a position of minimizing the conflict's significance, choosing not to publicly reprimand either individual and allowing Navarro's conciliatory remarks to stand as the administration's preferred narrative. Beneath the surface of this back and forth lies a fundamental tension regarding definitions of domestic manufacturing in an era of globalized supply chains, alongside the practical impacts of tariff policies on multinational corporations. The incident clearly demonstrates the capacity of prominent private sector figures, particularly those controlling major communication platforms, to directly confront and challenge government narratives and officials. Yet this public narrative of harmony stands in marked contrast to the initial severity of the exchange. The language employed by Musk, specifically terms like moron and dumber than a sack of bricks, directed at a senior White House official, represents a significant departure from typical corporate government discourse. Navarro's subsequent assertion that everything's fine and the White House dismissal as public sparring present a strikingly different characterization of events compared to the documented harshness of Musk's posts. Furthermore, there exists a discernible tension between Navarro's stated trade objectives and his later praise for Musk. While Navarro's initial critique focused squarely on the perceived deficiencies in Tesla's domestic component sourcing, advocating for a more traditional, geographically concentrated manufacturing base, his later comments highlighted Musk's positive contributions to government efficiency. This places Navarro's specific policy criticisms alongside an acknowledgement of Musk's value within another sphere of government activity, creating a complex picture of their professional interaction. The core disagreement also illuminates conflicting definitions of what constitutes an American-made product in the modern economy. Navarro's framework emphasizes the origin of individual components, referencing specific industrial hubs like Akron, Indianapolis, and Flint. Conversely, Musk's defense relied on criteria encompassing final assembly location and the proportion of the U.S. manufacturing workforce involved, citing external studies to bolster this perspective. These competing metrics underscore the difficulty in applying traditional manufacturing paradigms to contemporary globalized production networks. Consequently, the official White House framing of the incident as trivial seems dissonant with the substantive policy disagreements and the high-profile nature of the individuals involved. While presented as inconsequential sparring, the exchange touches upon central administration trade policies, their real-world economic effects on major corporations, and the evolving dynamics of influence between government officials and powerful technology leaders who also hold advisory roles. A closer examination suggests the public effort to normalize the situation serves specific operational purposes. Minimizing the conflict allows the administration to avoid prolonged public scrutiny of internal disagreements or policy challenges, particularly concerning the tangible economic effects of tariffs on prominent domestic corporations led by individuals also advising the government. Navarro's conciliatory tone, echoed by the White House press secretary, effectively attempts to contain the narrative and prevent the sharp exchange from overshadowing broader administration messaging or objectives. This sequence vividly illustrates the current power dynamics between government entities and exceptionally influential private sector actors. Musk's capacity to leverage his personal platform, which he owns, to issue direct, harsh rebukes against a senior government official without apparent immediate consequence, signals a significant shift in communication and influence landscapes. The administration's decision to publicly downplay rather than censure this behavior suggests a pragmatic calculation regarding Musk's economic importance and perhaps his contributions in other government-related capacities. The complexity is further amplified by Musk's simultaneous position as head of the Department of Government Efficiency. This dual role places him as both an external corporate leader impacted by trade policy and an internal figure tasked with optimizing government function. Navarro's specific praise for Musk's efficiency work, delivered immediately after brushing off the public spat, highlights this intricate relationship and potentially explains the administration's tolerance for the prior antagonistic remarks. Ultimately, the episode underscores the inherent difficulties in imposing broad protectionist measures that conflict with the established operational realities of multinational corporations utilizing intricate global supply chains. The public friction, despite attempts at smoothing it over, reveals the practical tensions between stated national economic goals focused on domestic component sourcing and the operational strategies of major industrial players navigating a globalized marketplace. Looking beyond the immediate interaction, several broader implications emerge from this episode. The public nature of the disagreement, regardless of subsequent efforts to portray harmony, potentially affects perceptions of administration messaging coherence on trade policy. When a prominent figure who also holds an advisory role publicly contests the factual basis and economic rationale presented by a senior trade official, it can introduce complexities into the administration's efforts to project a unified policy stance. Furthermore, the dynamic observed offers insight into contemporary government-industry relations, particularly involving highly influential technology executives. The administration's apparent acceptance of Musk's pointed public criticism, framing it dismissively, could indicate a strategic calculation regarding the perceived necessity or value of maintaining cooperative relationships with such individuals, even when faced with direct opposition on specific policy points. This tolerance might reflect an understanding of their economic weight or their contributions in other domains, like Musk's efficiency initiative. Moreover, the incident clearly highlights the tangible impact of trade policies, like tariffs, on major economic actors and how their reactions can shape public discourse. Musk's explicit linkage of his critique to financial consequences resulting from tariff announcements serves as a potent, real-world example that can influence wider understanding and debate concerning the costs and benefits of such protectionist measures. Finally, the episode underscores the evolving landscape of communication and influence. The capacity for individuals controlling major social media platforms to directly engage, rebut, and criticize government officials bypasses traditional information gatekeepers. The administration's response, or lack thereof in terms of direct censure, demonstrates an adaptation to this reality, navigating a sphere where powerful private voices can instantly challenge official narratives on a global scale. Therefore, the observed sequence, from direct policy critique and sharp personal rebuttal to subsequent public reconciliation and official downplaying, crystallizes a complex operational reality. It reveals the inherent friction between nationalistic trade ambitions, emphasizing localized component production, and the globalized operational necessities of major corporations. The incident demonstrates not only the significant influence wielded by prominent technology leaders who can leverage personal platforms to directly challenge government narratives, but also the administration's pragmatic approach in managing such confrontations, prioritizing stability or other strategic objectives over public disciplinary action. Ultimately, this exchange serves as a clear marker of the contemporary strategic environment where stated policy goals intersect and sometimes clash with powerful economic interests and evolving communication dynamics, forcing pragmatic adjustments in public positioning and official response. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, and be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more geopolitical insights like this. I love hearing your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Share this video with anyone interested in deeper perspectives on current events. Until next time, stay informed and think critically. Thank you.